Let's face it, guys, Dragon Ball Super's power scaling is completely out of whack, with some characters being way stronger than they should be, with some characters being way weaker than they should be, and some characters being just right. But to dive in more specifically about Universe 7, alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today giving you an in-depth breakdown of all of the Universe 7 fighters and whether or not Dragon Ball Super's power scaling has upscaled or downscaled all of them. So let's get started. So the first character that we should talk about is Master Roshi. Initially, before all of this took place in Dragon Ball Super, I thought that Master Roshi would have been the weakest character in Universe 7 for very obvious reasons. At the end of Dragon Ball, Master Roshi specifically said that all of his students, including Yamcha, Goku, Tien, and Krillin, all surpassed him. So when you consider that, plus all of the additional training that everybody else has done, and also considering that we never really saw Master Roshi training, I thought Master Roshi would have easily have been the weakest character in Universe 7, but clearly I was wrong, as Master Roshi's way stronger than I thought, as he was giving Tien problems in episode 89 and Goku had to jump in to save him. And even if Tien was holding back, the fact that Roshi got that strong means that Master Roshi has definitely been upscaled in power for this Tournament of Power. Next, moving on this list, we have Krillin. Now, I initially thought that Krillin would have been the second weakest character on this list, and looking at Dragon Ball Super, he has also been upscaled, considering the fact that even if you say Goku was holding back, he held his own somewhat against the Super Saiyan Goku, and at least for small points in time against the Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Now, I understand a lot of people are going to be saying, well, Goku was holding back, obviously Goku would never want to hurt Krillin, but the fact of the matter is that though if Krillin was not stronger than what he initially was, there's no possible way he would have lasted that long. Like, Goku in his base form literally one-shotted Krillin many episodes ago in Dragon Ball Super and sent Krillin halfway across the world. So now all of a sudden Krillin's comparing to Goku's other forms. That tells me Krillin has definitely been upscaled in terms of power. Now, the thing that I initially thought is interesting is dealing with Tien. Going back to Dragon Ball Z, and even in Dragon Ball, I have always believed that Tien has been stronger than Krillin. Black and Fist and I did an old debate on it, talking about it, where he was on Team Krillin and I was on Team Tien. I think Tien is stronger than Krillin when you consider the fact that Tien trained with King Kai, whereas Krillin did not train with King Kai when you compare the afterlife. In addition to that, even though Krillin got his power unlocked by Guru, Tien is a character who is always constantly training, whereas Krillin is not. You see this during the Buu arc where Tien shows up out of nowhere to save Gohan, and you see this throughout the series as Tien is always trying to master his power, and now considering that he has his own dojo, that even reinforces this point more. So I initially thought that Tien was stronger than both Roshi and Krillin, but looking at Super, I'm gonna have to say that he's downscaled in terms of power, considering how Roshi was beating him up. And when you look at the fight where he was training against the others, Tien is definitely nowhere near the others in terms of power, so Tien is definitely downscaled. The next two characters I have on this list, I'm going to lump them together in 17 and 18. Now, if you look back to Dragon Ball Z, and if you look at the manga, it was said that 17 is stronger than 18 based on the manga. However, if you look at power scaling evidence throughout the Dragon Ball series, it's implied that 17's power is not that much higher than 18's, and some evidence of power scaling is the fact that when 17 was fighting against Piccolo, 18 was offering to jump in, and she was pretty confident in her abilities that she could hold her own against Piccolo, similar to 17. Also, when you factor in that if you look at the future timeline, although this is a future timeline, 18 didn't seem to be significantly weaker than what 17 was when both Gohan and Trunks were fighting against them. Their powers seemed to be similar. So I thought 18 would have been around the same as 17. And with that said, I still think 18 is where she should be. But 17, on the other hand, is upscaled. 17, considering he was fighting a Super Saiyan Blue, has definitely been upscaled in power, whereas with 18, I would still say that she's stronger than Krillin, Roshi, and Tien, but not higher than anybody else on this list. So those are my thoughts on the androids. 18 stays the same, 17 goes way up. Now, the next person I want to talk about is Piccolo. I initially thought that Piccolo would have been the next character on this list, coming in at number 6. If you look at Resurrection F, Piccolo was weaker than Gohan's regular Super Saiyan form, and if you also look at the Universe 6 tournament, Piccolo was holding his own with Frost, but Frost was only fighting Goku's Super Saiyan form. Now that would obviously indicate that Piccolo has gotten a lot stronger in terms of power, but I just didn't think Piccolo had gotten that strong that fast to be stronger than what Fat Buu would have been. So with all of those things said, I thought Piccolo would have been stronger than the androids, stronger than the humans, but I didn't think he would have been stronger than Buu, considering that Piccolo was so far below what Fat Buu was in Dragon Ball Z. I just didn't think he could get that far, but actually, being unbiased, they've made Piccolo stronger than what I thought, as he's been fighting against Ultimate Gohan. So Piccolo has definitely been upscaled in terms of power. Now, the next person on this list I should talk about is Gohan. Now, I understand Gohan has a lot of potential, so if you factor in Gohan's potential, Gohan should, in theory, be higher on this list. But when you consider how little training Gohan has gotten, I don't think Gohan could have gotten that strong in that small amount of time unless he went into the hyperbolic time chamber room of spirited time with Goku, Piccolo, or somebody else. So with that said, even though Gohan had all of that potential, Resurrection F showed me that Gohan still had a ways to go before he could even get close to what his old power was. But once again, Dragon Ball Super has upscaled Gohan's power to compete in this tournament of power, as in such a small amount of time, Gohan was fighting against a Super Saiyan Blue and a Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. So yes, Gohan's definitely been upscaled. Now, coming in at my initial list at number 3 would be Majin Buu. Majin Buu, I thought, is pretty safe to be around where he was originally. But the thing is, with everything going on in Dragon Ball Super now, Majin Buu is actually downscaled proportional to other characters, because Majin Buu is now apparently weaker than Piccolo, apparently weaker than Gohan, apparently weaker than 17, apparently weaker than the next character that I wish didn't come back into this tournament of power, and weaker than Goku and Vegeta. So Buu is actually downscaled, even though initially I thought that he would have been the 3rd strongest character in this tournament of power. Now, for all sakes and purposes, guys, this next response is kind of, I guess you could say, a time machine question, in the sense that if I knew this character was going to be in this tournament of power earlier, I would have put him at this spot, and it's Frieza. If I didn't know a thing about this tournament of power, and there were just 11 fighters for Universe 7 going into the tournament of power, I would have put Frieza at 3rd, ahead of Buu, as a special spot on this list, because of the fact that, I mean, the other 2 characters are Super Saiyan Blues, and Frieza fought against them in Resurrection F, and Buu and Gohan and nobody else was even near what Frieza was, and they didn't seem to train as hard to get to what Frieza would be in that short amount of time. So I would have put Frieza at 3rd as a special spot if I knew he was going to be in this tournament of power from the beginning. But looking at the way the tournament of power is, Frieza's probably gonna stay the same, because you can't really get stronger in hell if you're sitting in a cocoon all day. Now, to go into my initial spot at number 2, I would say that Vegeta would be the obvious answer, and in terms of power scaling, I think Vegeta is exactly where he is. Like, I don't think anybody can argue that Vegeta would probably move out of his number 2 spot. He's a Super Saiyan Blue, he's been well trained in this form for years, he's clearly stronger than Frieza and Buu and all these other characters at this point. And considering that Ultimate Gohan didn't last that long against Goku, even though it was a Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku, I would say Vegeta is easily number 2, especially after all the fights against Goku Black in the Future Trunks arc. And coming in at a very predictable spot at number 1 is Goku. Just like Vegeta, I would say that his power scaling proportional to what my initial thoughts were is exactly the same. Goku is probably only stronger than Vegeta because of his Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, and the fact that he's a Super Saiyan Blue as well, and he's gone through so much more training than anybody else, going with Whis, training against King Kai, training in the afterlife. Goku's trained so many different ways with so many different people. How can you not think he's number 1? And if you argue Vegeta, you could just say Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. So yeah, Goku stays the same. So ultimately though guys, this has been my breakdown for you guys today. My initial thoughts were definitely very different from what, you know, obviously a lot of people have thought in Dragon Ball Super so far, and let's have some fun in the comment section. Tell me some questions or, you know, some thoughts that you had on this Tournament of Power. Feel free to make a list or just respond to me and saying what you thought about a lot of the characters in terms of how they've been upscaled or downscaled. And if you want to do any of that stuff, guys, I want to hear your thoughts on Majin Buu. If you were to include him in this tournament, how would you compare him to other characters? Because he's definitely an interesting character in the spot on all this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. So with everything else said, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys.